What's going on, guys? Noah here, coming at you guys with a brand new video today. Today we're going to be doing another course overview, but before I get into the footage and start talking about these holes, so the big main reason to why I want to do all these course overviews and get full footage of every shot is to give people perspective on what these courses look like if you're from not the area. So when you look onto YouTube, you don't see a whole lot of Northern Michigan courses that have footage to them. And currently we have nothing to represent our courses and kind of give some insight for the people who want to come from downstate and like the local area who have never played certain courses. So I'm trying to do a course overview of all of our big Northern Michigan courses so you guys can see what these courses look like and have more of a perspective on what these courses play, how they feel, just the scenery of them, stuff like that. So big main goal is to have our courses out on YouTube, so when you're doing a tournament or you have a tournament coming up, you guys can end up seeing the courses and having a little bit of perspective on what they play like. So hole 1 there, I ended up taking a par, but coming into hole 2, it's 308 feet, just directly over top of this big hill here. It goes across 2 small little valleys and then crashes to the right. You have to get just past this pine tree where the follow flight ends up coming just in front of it, and I almost aced this thing. This is a hole I've been trying to get for quite some time. It's not a very obtainable hole for a 2. Unless you have a nice turnover backhand shot or a really crisp flick like that off the tee. So, end up taking a 2 here, demonstrating here I almost aced it, crashed into the ground like literally right next to the basket. But we're 1 down through 2 here, going into hole 3. It's going to be 307 feet, par 3, straight downhill. This goes over top of a big valley, and there's usually a really big gust of wind that comes through the middle of this. But luckily, the conditions were great today, so I'm just going to be throwing a Raptor off the top of this and hoping to get it all the way down. There's a little mound that you want to hit or just go past it to be parked, and I end up hitting that front mound and just skipping and rotating up to the top of the basket. So I was pin high, shooting for 2 here, which leaves us 2 down through 3. We're on a nice little streak here. So going into hole 4, it's going to be 253 feet. It's over top of a valley once again. This one's more obtainable. I'm just going to be throwing a Crystal Raptor or a Crystal Luna off the tee here. I'm trying to really dial in this Crystal Luna to just be able to throw it 250 every time. This one, with being over top of a valley, I didn't want to overshoot it, so I didn't give it nearly as much power and left it pretty short. So I'm looking at probably like a 30-footer for a 2, and it's not a bad shot. It's something I could have improved on. I wish there was a little bit more forward skip, but it is still coming into spring. But shooting for 2 here, I end up hitting just the side of the basket and rotating down. Luckily, it did not roll. That's a very steep hill there. Could potentially roll down the hill and give me a bogey, even potentially a double bogey. So going into hole 5, it's 195 feet. It's a dogleg right, so you have to throw a flick or a just super understable backhand shot to get to the pin. So the shot is more or less a flick. This is what I like to throw. I'm throwing just a Raptor here, just up top high. I end up coming in and crashing right next to the basket, hitting a tree that's like next to it, and then I end up rolling. It stood up and rolled away from me and ended up going probably about 25 feet, and my look was really tough. Didn't realize that I was not in camera here, but I grab a little bit of the chains on my shot here, and it just kind of sits next to the basket. So we're shooting for another par here, which it's not bad. It's whatever. Pars are better than bogeys. If I can end up going bogey free, that'd be great. Coming into hole 6 here, 348 feet. Those discs here in front of me are actually a family. They're letting me bypass. They had a little guy. I'm throwing just a Z Thrasher here. I end up turning it over too much, and it rotates way off right. And I end up having to pitch out here. It was just not a very good shot. I had really no look. So I just decided to pitch out, take my bogey, and just go from there. Sometimes those decisions you have to make quick, and sometimes they will help you in the long run. So I'm starting to make these more practical decisions and being able to like judge what I need to be throwing and what I don't need to be throwing on certain shots. So throwing just a challenger up shot here, having it crash in up towards the basket. Pin high, but probably 25 out of the basket. So shooting for Bogue here. Taking my time, cash it in there. So we are 1 down through 6 now.
So we're 1 down now.
Going through our course. Not too bad. Hole 7, 258 feet, par 3. Throwing a Raptor. This is one of those touch shots that I'm still kind of fine-tuning and like dialing in. I end up throwing this a little bit short. It crashes down and rolls out and leaves me probably about 35 short. 30, 35 or so, I'd say. But I ended up hitting that tree there behind me, and just gonna try and give this a good run. There's no risk on it, so I can give this a nice little test. But end up chaining out on this. Was an unfortunate chain out, but taking apart's better than nothing. So we're still 1 down through 7. Coming into hole 8, 235 feet. I had a family come up, rush behind me, so I threw very quick, but threw a glow buzz there. I almost put this in the basket, like so close. Almost had it, but end up probably about 25 long in the basket. Had a nice, easy little look at it, and if you go past the basket too far, it's a pretty downhill putt. But that puts us back down to 2 down through 8 holes, which is kind of nice. Going into hole 9, it's 227 feet. This is a nice little turnover shot with a challenger that I'm throwing here. It's just dead straight off the tee, but you have to throw this nice little shape shot. I like to throw just a challenger on a slight anhyzer and let it flip up to flat and rotate down. I ended up getting a really fortunate tree kick because this could have been super long and downhill. And this is one of those tester putts that I'm still trying to dial in and really feel confident with. But I left myself probably about 30 short, and was running this to try and test it, but end up cashing that in there for 3 down through 9. So we're on a nice little 2 birdie streak here. Going into hole 10, I remember this was pretty funny. So this hole is over top of a valley again. It kind of comes up on top of a hill there. 321 feet, it's a par 3. I'm going to be throwing a Buzz SS. I was trying to have it go a little bit to the right for its flight, but I threw it a little bit to the left and ended up in some crap down here. As you guys see here in just a sec, it wasn't the best shot. I could have definitely executed this better. But hey, it's something we're all learning. It's something I'm learning to really touch and fine tune my backhand. But as you guys can see here, I'm taking my diddly daddly time to get up to my lie because I went into a very large thorn bush like garden, and it was brutal. So coming out, took my time as well, but I ended up clipping my hands and hurting myself quite a bit. I got pretty cut up through there, but play where it lies. So this is for my par putt, 10 feet away. It's a gimme putt for me. Going into hole 11, 113 feet uphill. I've had 2 aces on this and a lot of basket hits, so I'm just throwing a challenger. I'm running this. I'm going to try and give this a good run. I end up leaving it a little bit low and just crashes right under the basket, but leaves me for a 2 putt, which puts us 4 down through 11.
Some birdie runs coming up here soon.
Which is not bad. There's a couple birdie holes coming up here, and we're gonna try and capitalize on them and see what we can end our round at. Because Maple City is one of my favorite courses. It's got the best scenery in the summer. It's just super pretty out here. Hole 12, 170 feet. It's a little dog leg. Left, I'm throwing a ESP zone off the tee. Just slight little hyzer, just letting the disc do its job, and having it crash in probably about 15 feet from the basket. If you go over that log where it is right below the basket, it's severely downhill and it's a very challenging putt. So I always try and come a little bit short to this basket and just have a small little uphill putt. But there's a second 2, 4, 5 down through 12 holes, which is not bad. We're on a good little roll here.
You can
hole
kind of see
13,
it
255
right
feet.
there a little.
It's a downhill shot.
but
I typically will
5
throw
down
a
through
Raptor
12.
off to
I'm
the
gonna be
left-hand
throwing
side,
a
but I
Crystal
decided to go
Luna.
with a Crystal Luna this time, seeing
all the way
really
down
trying
the
to
bottom
dial
of
in
the
this Luna to get that 250, 300-foot distance out of it for dead straight shots. So I ended up throwing this and hitting a tree mid-fairway, and it kind of just set me down a little bit. Wasn't upset about it. It left me probably about, I'd say, 70 feet short of the basket. I was thinking it was more like 100 in the video.
Probably about 100.
But I had a pretty good run at it too. I was trying to play it safe, but also not be too risky because I don't want to be 30 past the basket. So I was giving it kind of a half run and just came right below the basket. So it was a pretty good run, good effort. One of those decision-making shots where you just kind of need to make the decision if you want to run this and potentially be 30 past, or give it a nice half run and give yourself a good option. So cleaning up the tee here. I think the tee was never in the ground. It just ended up falling off the tree. So I moved it back a little bit so it's out of the way. But hole 14, 199 feet. I'm throwing a Raptor here. There used to be a really big tree right in the dead center middle, but I'm pretty sure there was termite damage to it, and it ended up getting cut down. I'm just throwing a Raptor. I'm just going to have it flick up top and rotate over to the right. I get a pretty good shot on this hole. If that tree was there, it's usually a different story. I usually would hit it. But left myself probably about 15 short right in front of this down tree for a 2-putt, which puts us 6 down through 14 holes. So, or 5 down. Sorry, guys. I'm getting my numbers mixed up. I'm five down through 14. I ended up shooting.
My zone. When your cousin keeps telling
you
me
guys
to
will
throw
have to
this,
see. So hole 15, 157 feet. My cousin keeps telling me to throw my zone on this, so I'm throwing my soft X zone instead of a backhand. I ended up throwing this just really hard right, and leaving myself with a tester downhill putt. And these are those ones where you got to make the decision. And right now, I was super confident with the last few putts that I've made, so I ended up running this and going for it. And it turned out pretty good. I was probably about 33 feet short of the basket and ended up cashing this in. So now we're 5 down through we are 6 down through 15 holes. I'm getting my numbers mixed up here. We're 6 down through 15. Going into hole 16, I had a group of individuals in front of me. 284 feet. Throwing my Crystal Luna here again. Kind of grip locked it a little bit. It did squeeze through quite a bit of trees on the right-hand side and crash in right at the bottom of the hill, which is ideal. Man. That's what you typically want to do on this shot. But if you go over the hill, you go to the left of the hill, it's very dangerous. You looking at a par putt is pretty tough. So I end up laying this up. I don't want to risk taking a bogey and shooting bad on this hole, because this hole is prone to getting me for at least a bogey or a double bogey every once in a while. So going into hole 17, that group of guys here is letting me play on through. I'm just going to be throwing a Onyx. It's 306 feet, par 3. This is a severely uphill dogleg left shot, and this is one that I have not been able to nor come close to. As you guys can see, my shot seemed ideal, but it was so far out that the pin shot, or the placement shot that I had, was just not good enough. So we're shooting for a par here. We're just going to be taking a simple little par.
That's a par.
Letting these guys pass on
6
through.
down,
so hole 18 is going to be 458 feet. I typically will be throwing a Big Z Zeus on this. I've been recently throwing a Nuke out on this hole because I've been getting a very good 390 to 410 foot drive and leaving myself about 50 short. I ended up just turning this one over way too much. There was too much crosswind, and it pulled it into the woods here, and you guys will see. I ended up getting a pretty bad lie, but I was extremely happy with the play that I made out of here. I threw a great roller and ended up having it turn over and roll out. And if you guys want to know what my roller disc is, it's a Thrasher, forehand Thrasher for a roller. You guys will see it kind of like glimpse across right there. glimpse across that big tree on the backhand side. So I was hoping it would lead me for a pretty good putt on a 2,
Oh, 100%.
or for par. But it was a little bit long. It's one of those ones that's still in that testing range for me, to shoot and kind of enjoy the shot, but leave myself probably about 30 short from the basket. Was happy with the out for the outcome. It was a great out. I had probably about 200 feet to throw a roller, and I made it, or it worked perfectly. I was just wanting it to cut a little bit sooner. So this is for par here. I ended up shooting a little bit low, leaving myself for a par putt, or for a bogey putt. Sorry. So that puts us 5 down through the round. Typically, that's what I shoot at Maple. 5 to 7. My best is 9. But yeah, anywhere from 5 to 7 down on this course is a very respectable round.
Once again, out on the course.
So guys, if this was something you guys enjoyed, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.